Well, good morning, church. Here it is Monday, the 6th of April, 4 days before the Passover. And we find Jesus and his disciples doing what all other Jews would have been doing 4 days before the Passover, traveling to Jerusalem. So let's pick up the story now in Mark chapter 11, verses 12 to 22. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs yet. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them and saying to them, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." And the chief priests and the scribes heard it and were seeking a way to destroy him, for they feared him, because all the crowd was astonished at his teaching. And when evening came, they went out of the city, and they passed by in the morning. They saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree that you cursed has withered." And Jesus answered them, "Have faith in God." So, what is with this fig tree? What's going on here? Let's break this passage down section by section to figure it out. The time of year is early spring. And Jesus sees a fig tree and leaf. In other words, there's green leaves all over it. And what might one presume to be on a fig tree in bloom? Well, figs, of course, right? And Jesus is hungry. So Jesus goes to the fig tree to see if there's any fruit on it, because it looks like it should have fruit. Only there's no fruit to be found. It's still too early in the year, and it hasn't quite got to fig season yet. So no figs. It looks like there should be figs, but in reality, no figs. Jesus curses the tree, never to bear fruit again. And then what happens in the next section? Well, we see Jesus in the temple, and he clears the temple of God of the money changers and those who are selling sacrifices. The temple of the Most High God has become a bazaar of some sorts, a Saturday market, a strip mall. The sacred has become profaned. Jesus cleanses his temple. The next day they're walking out of the city, and apparently it's by the same way that they had came into the city, and they pass by a completely dead fig tree. And then Peter realized that it's the same fig tree that Jesus tried to find fruit on but didn't. And it's cursed. It's dead. So what in the world is going on here? It's such a strange series of events. We got this fig tree, we're in Jerusalem in the temple, then we got a fig tree again. What is with this cursed fig tree and the clearing of the temple? Well, let me help you with some Old Testament quotations here. Jeremiah 8:13 says, "When I would gather them, the them being Israel, declares the Lord, there are no grapes on the vine, nor figs on the fig tree. Even the leaves are withered, and what I gave them has passed away from them." So this is God speaking here, of how Israel has turned from him to follow and worship false gods. And God uses the analogy of looking for fruit on a fig tree, but finding none, when talking about Israel. Hosea 9 and 10. "They have deeply corrupted themselves as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity, he will punish their sins. Like grapes in the wilderness I found Israel. Like the first fruit on the fig tree in its first season I saw your fathers, but they came to Baal Peor and consecrated themselves to the thing of shame and became detestable like the thing they loved." Israel is likened to to a fig tree giving the first fruit of the season, that which Jesus is looking for in Mark 11. Yet the fruit that is eventually found on the fig tree of Israel is not good fruit, it's bad fruit. In the same way, Jesus approaches this fig tree as he's entering Jerusalem, and it looks like it should have the first fruits of the season on it. This is how it appears. This is the expectation, yet he finds nothing. Appearances can be deceiving. Jesus enters Jerusalem, approaches his temple, and from the outside, the temple of God is ornate. It's beautiful. It's intricately designed. Everything is perfect. Everything to the smallest detail designed for the worship and the praise and the adoration of Yahweh. The perfect place to come and pray and commune with your Creator God. This is how the temple looks from the outside, but when Jesus enters the temple, what does he find? A den of robbers. Appearances can be deceiving. Israel is the fig tree that's all leafy and looks healthy and looks like it should be producing fruit. Yet when you get close, when you really start to inspect, there's no fruit to be found. Jesus curses the fig tree. He cleanses his temple. Because the expectations of Israel do not fit reality. Israel looks great from the outside, but on the inside, where it counts, nothing of significance can be found. Let me end with a parable from our Savior. Luke 13, 6-9. And he, the he being Jesus, told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. And he said to the vine dresser, "Look, for 3 years now I've come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why should it use up the ground?" And he answered him, "Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and put manure on it. Then, if it should bear fruit next year, well and good. But if not, you can cut it down." So, church, what kind of fig tree